Warning: the following contains content intended for older audiences and may contain strong language. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good evening and welcome to our not so new but always fresh show, Taboo Talks, where young adults are free to speak their minds and are encouraged to ask the uncomfortable but very real questions. We're here to share, to gain insights from each other, as well as from experienced professionals about the topics that matter most to us, but may still ruffle a few feathers here and there. I'm your host, Drea Reno. And today on Taboo Talks, we're getting into the weighty subject of self-identity. We're asking ourselves the age-old question of what makes a person the same over time? And what are those essential qualities that make you, you? And why does it even matter? We want to discuss how teens and young adults find their identities, the struggle to own it, and what who they are or think they are means in relation to our societal context. I'm accompanied by four lovely individuals, as usual. These are truly bold young persons, and I want you guys to introduce yourselves. I'll start with you.
Okay. Good night. I'm Vianney Cole.
Danielle Neal.
I'm Jessica Rosado.
And I'm Angel Espat.
Notice as everyone introduced themselves by just using their names, right? And what we're about to talk
I
about,
think because she started,
you know,
just
she's like, okay, so let's jump right into it.
Yes.
When you think of, you know, the term, I mean, obviously there's a meaning and there's a way to explain psychologically what self-identity is. But when you hear that term, what do you think?
I'm confident and I'm bold and I'm not afraid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm understanding.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a good listener. And I think that stands out. And if it doesn't, I hope it does from here onward.
Perfect. So, I mean, I guess that's it. It's just the qualities that make you who you are.
I mean, aside from those qualities that we have all kinds of other things that make us who we are, right?
Yeah.
So it's not just that we're confident or smart or courageous or the bad things that, you know, we're jealous or envious
Selfish.
or selfish.
Toxic.
It's not just those things, but like, but what is the meaning of you in relation to you and everything around you?
Correct.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think that definitely, I mean, it has to do with evolving because, I mean,
Very
how you grow up, you evolve, you change over time. When you're growing up, it's like you've been saying that generations and everything, it's like how you grow up and now with everything changing, you change along with it. So you have to go on continuing learning yourself. You grow and
I love that. That is definitely it for me.
Yeah.
Because it has been a whirlwind. You know, you just pass through your stages of this is what you think you are, and then, you know, there's a bit of a change, but I don't really like doing this anymore. I don't really like being with these people anymore.
Yeah.
And then you reach another chapter of self, and that's it. You just keep learning every day. It's constant work to better yourself, to evolve. And I mean, whether it's bettering or making yourself worse, whatever it is, but it is something that you work through, you work towards at least.
I think when it comes to like identity, it's not only, there's a lot of factors that influence it, like our environment, our family, our friends, even, might I say, your economical status. Like all of these things affect the way your own perspective of yourself and of other people.
Right.
And as Jessica said, we're constantly evolving. And so while we're evolving, we get to learn more of ourselves and get in tune with ourselves. Some people do it sooner than later. Some people do it way later and just have been putting up a bravado the entire time to fit in. But I think that your identity is very important once you're able to understand this is what I like. These are the people that I like. I like being around people who make me feel good about myself, right? So all of these things are important in your journey, and as you grow, you glow. All of that thing, right? So I
As you
think
grow, you
that
glow. I like
as
that.
exactly because we are butterflies.
Okay, so I'll ask you this. Do you believe in the blank slate theory, where we are born empty, a blank canvas, and then these influences are what, make us who we are? Or do you believe that we already come predestined to be who we are? What do you think?
I think I'm predestined to be who I am. I mean, it's funny because life has been really funny, I have completely different parents. I have a mother who is the most quiet person in the world and a dad who is the loudest person in the world. I've switched districts, I've switched environments, and from I was very young, I was always a confident kid. Even if I wasn't confident, you wouldn't have known. I would just push through that situation, and I've gotten better at it, but I have always been, you're not going to bully me. You're not going to take advantage.
You're not the one.
I'm just not the one to do it. And I never, and my mom would say like, you're a completely different child. And I'm like, I know, but this is what it is. And toodles to you. And I will fight for you too, girl. And so I'm destined to be great.
But do you think that has like a lot to do with how you grew up? Like your parents had or that was just you on your own?
And that is something else that I always ask, because I think I come from a very humble family. I think I've come from very humble people. And then there's just me, who is just out there and loud, and it's my way or the highway. And so, I mean, in life, a lot of things, there are a lot of people with circumstances who just can't be. And that is a reality. People are hiding themselves based on what they have, what they're accustomed to, what they're influenced to. But it wasn't me.
Let's take the role of society, because when I think of self-identity, I think of, like you said, my perspective of myself in relation to the social context, right? So there's a version of myself that no one sees, There are versions of myself that the closest people around me see, and then there are versions of myself that I put out there for everyone to see. Right? Like if you're into astrology, it's like your sun, moon, and rising, right? So then, really and truly, if we're okay with who we are, right? You're supposed to be okay with how that relates to the external world.
Right.
But what about the expectations and the social roles and your granny want to kill you if they find out? Like, how does that affect us now? Because we've been through all of that. I think as young adults right now, we've passed the adolescent stage. We're at a point where most of us here make their own money. Yes, some of us might live at home still, but we're fairly independent, right? So how do you think your identity has been molded or shaped or even affected by the expectations that society, requires of us?
Yeah, I feel like
She sighed.
I heard her. I heard her. I feel like, especially here in Belize, like here in the Caribbean, everyone has this mentality of it has to be this way. That this, if they're not this, something wrong.
Taras.
Correct. And I think, once you have the opportunity of traveling, and that's the thing what I tell everyone, if you have the opportunity to study somewhere else, take it. And I thank the universe, thank God that I have had the opportunity of doing a lot of traveling. And throughout this, you get to understand different things. Going to Thailand taught me a lesson. Going to Mexico City, living in Canada, all of these things had allowed me to not only understand myself, but to understand that each country has its, its own society, the way things work, and you get to see, like, you don't want to bash your own country, and that's not what you want to do.
Right.
But you get to have a look from the outside,
Yeah.
and you're like, damn, no wonder half of we mess up because, I don't want to say we're not teaching us the right way, but you're not allowing us
Yeah.
to be the person we feel that we might be. And I think that our entire society, especially the older people, they want to hold your hand the entire time before I drop and bust your head. But we have to bust your head so we can understand what it really is for us to understand ourselves. And that's why whenever I tell like my parents or even people from here, believe like how my Canadian like friends, like their parents are, they're like, I would have never done that. I'm like, well, there's a reason your child is the way your
Yeah.
child is, because over there there's an entire different approach. They allow you to make you drop and bust your head because it's your journey now, not theirs. They already had it. And so I just feel like it's very important for us to have our little hits, have our little bruises, our scrapes, because that's how we're going to learn. We're not going to have our parents forever holding our hands, telling us, you can't do this, you can't say that, you can't act that way. And with our generation coming up now, I'm not saying we don't care. I'm just saying we're allowing the generation coming behind us to speak your mind. If that's how you feel, that's how you feel,
What do you think?
Her side.
Yeah, my side. I think it's a balance of taking the risk but knowing the consequences. That took me back to the beginning of everything, and by everything I mean to today, where I am. I was in sixth form, and I was studying psychology and sociology, and I remember, I don't know, I was a year in, and I was like, I don't know do I see a future realistically, financially, and is that really something I want to do here? And I'm talking about 4 or 5 years ago, and I remember saying, I'm done. Like, I'm done with school. And 5 years ago, my classmates, they studied business and they want the medicine, and I'm just like, no, I don't want to do any of this. And I think that if I had listened to my friends and my dad, it would have been different. I remember holding the date for registration because you have to pay. I remember holding on to that day and saying, I'm not telling my dad. Because if my dad knows, he's going to pay and I have to go back. And the day it ended, the deadline for paying, I went home and I'm like, Dad, I'm not going back to school. My dad, he's in the medical industry. Like, he's like, no, you're going to school. I'm like, no, it's too late. Today was the deadline to pay. And he goes, no, you're going to school.
Right.
And my mom is in the back like, she knew. My mom knew, and that's the next thing, If you have supportive parents, what home you come from. It was a mix at home because my mom was supportive in the sense that she saw school wasn't for me. I wasn't there. Like, I was physically there, but I wasn't mentally there.
Right.
For different reasons, I wanted to work. But the main reason was I don't know what I'm passionate about yet. And this is not it.
Yeah. So instead of wasting your
It-
hard-earned
right.
money,
It was like,
let me live my life.
Exactly. I'm wasting my dad's money. And my papa work morning, day, and night. And I know in the moment he didn't see it because I'm his daughter, his firstborn, the
Right.
only girl. And he told me, he was mad. He was mad, of course. I understood that. My mom said, listen, you better find a job tomorrow. And I did. I literally did.
like,
I did.
say less.
I did. And it was, I don't know. I think back and I was 15, 16, and I go, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
Like, and I think now, if I have a kid, will come to me at 15, 16 and tell me,
I don't want to go to school.
I don't want to go to school. I would have reacted the same way.
Yeah.
But I think that if I had listened to my dad and my friends and everyone around, my friends are like, no, you need to stay in school, you won't get a job, you need a degree. Yeah. He was like, everyone's like, you won't get a job, you need a degree, and I'm like, I know myself. I'll figure it out, and it was literally that. I started working at a vape shop. Like,
Very cool of her. Very hipster of you.
I must say,
what did I know about vapes? Nothing. I figured it out. I ended up at Tourist Village. It was great. I moved on. It's a struggle. It really is a struggle. You think you know more than your parents do, but
Well, like he said, you have to bust your head.
yes,
You have to bust your head.
You have to bust your own head.
It was literally that. And Tourist Village didn't work out. I ended up at a gift shop. I was like, this is not
Actually,
it.
that's low-key good money. I remember doing that one time. And the tips. They gave you US. US.
But I must say, I think that was what I struggled with most. And I have to be very honest with myself when I speak on that is the hardest thing, when you have to do what you think is right for you and not what your parents or what society or whoever. And that was hard for me because I was in a huge phase of people pleasing.
Yeah.
And that was
Another pressure of
correct.
society.
I was in a huge block of my life where if I am here, I have to look this way, I have to speak
Dress
this way.
this way.
And then I just want to leave because I just want to go to a bar and have drinks with my friends. And I really, like, it's getting late. And
It's Taco Tuesday.
yes, it's late and my friends are waiting and I don't want to miss out on being drunk. But then I was so focused on being what society thought I should be. I could remember not walking into I will not walk out my house without extensions in my hair. Not keeping my real nails because I thought my nails was pretty and I wanted pretty hands like Jessica.
Zoom in on that.
Zoom in.
And so that was hard for me to learn that, you know what, who really cares? Everybody have their downright life that they live. Everybody balances what they portray to you and what they do in their personal time. And you just can't be caught up in that. And my advice on this part would just be, listen, just do you. Like, get yourself some friends that are down to get in trouble if that is the trouble that you want.
I don't want no adolescent to watch this.
And no, I mean, like, get yourself friends that are true to you. That is the trouble that I mean.
Right.
I wanted to go, I wanted to dance, and that's the friends that I want. And in my families, that was trouble. When I just genuinely wanted to have a good time. And so surround yourself with people who understand what you are.
Right.
And just live it.
So what are some of the other pressures that you feel impact your identity? Because last episode we were talking about social media.
Yeah.
You were here with us.
Correct.
Peer pressure. You said you were, a people pleaser. And then family trauma. Like, that is, if there's anything that I think can change a person, it's trauma.
100%.
So, I can speak all day on that. But what other pressures do you feel you've encountered, I'm gonna address you, that have really molded and shaped who Jessica is right now, this very moment?
Well, for me, I definitely, the whole family and parents. My mother is Hispanic and she obviously has different values and mentalities of growing up here in Belize. So that was definitely a big thing.
It's cultural.
Yeah, culture.
It's cultural. Yeah.
That, because like you said, like you go to these different places, you travel, and you just see the difference.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's funny that I think the three of us have a parent that's from outside of Belize and one that's Belizean.
Yeah.
So I could relate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's, that definitely was a big thing growing up because it's, like you said, I think it's like your mom is one way and your dad's the other way.
Yeah.
So finding that balance, it's okay. And yeah, that was a lot. Even when you were talking about like with school, for me, that was a big part for me, not knowing what I wanted to do. I mean, I remember in high school, I did arts. In sixth form, I did psychology as well. And after that, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I ended up doing marketing and international business, completely different than psychology and everything, but it's just the experience and learning and growing and realizing what it is you want. You can't expect us to know. I mean, there are some people who grow up knowing already, I want to be a doctor.
And
I
they
want
follow
to be
it through.
Yes,
Good for
and
them.
good for
Yeah.
them. I mean,
Good for them.
Yes,
Good for them.
that is-
Because
I wish.
I one up all of you.
nothing
My
gonna
whole
be.
degree is in the psychology.
Yeah.
Whole last degree.
I mean, it's just so hard living in a country that's so small, and everybody kind of have their own belief on what your daughter should be or what your parents have the craziest expectations of who you're going to be, and then you go to work and your boss has she has an expectation of who you're going to be,
Right.
and you everywhere you go, people just build an expectation around
Yeah.
you, and the minute that you say this is not what I want, then that is when we
Encounter difficulties.
Yep.
I think though it has to do with generations.
Yeah,
It's
100%.
it's so different. My mom chose to keep up and understand because
Facts,
I'm a
she did.
female,
Yeah.
you know, and I saw so much of my friends get pregnant, drop out of high school. I'm glad they went back to school. But I think it was the beginning of teenage pregnancy, and my mom was like, I'm either your best friend
Or
or I don't know what you're doing. And my mom chose to sit and talk to me, and
mine too.
it really built that
It's the
relationship.
best thing ever.
Yeah,
It makes a
it's
big
helpful
difference.
for our generation. It's different, you know, and again, it's a balance of your mom trusting you and you trusting her guidance that
Correct.
you know more than I know. It's a balance. And I always tell my cousins and my little cousins, trust me. Your
Trust.
mom knows more than
Yep,
you do.
and we learned that the hard way.
You don't get your head
So,
buzzed.
yep.
You don't get your head buzzed.
Yeah.
But your
Yeah.
mom is
But
see the
mommy-
come.
Yeah.
Yeah,
see the come, but
And
let
she
her-
told you.
Shimmy right.
And that's where experience comes in. So like
Pressure.
with all of, the noise out there, all of the stress and the temptations and the people pleasing that we actually have to do sometimes, just in certain
Yeah.
social settings with our
Yeah.
families, etc. How do you not stray from your authenticity? Like how do you keep yourself in
That's
check?
hard.
It is. But I mean, at the end of the day, you have to stay grounded, right?
Yeah.
As we had said in our entire previous episode, like, even with social media, people have this perception of you all the time.
Yeah.
And that comes down to what society thinks of you as well. How your family sees you, how your friends see you. And if you're not able to have a really good fundamental relationship with your parent, you're only going to give them a version of yourself.
Yeah.
And then you will give your writers the real, like how you said, you were done already for date.
I was.
But let's go.
Time.
And that's what you're going to give
Yeah.
your friends, like if there's not that connection there. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you want to be transparent throughout everything, then that same let's go, I want to throw it back, have to be throughout the entire,
So that's what I learned to do. I mean, that was hard. I think that it just hits you like you don't know when that time comes, but it just comes when you're like, I'm really exhausted and I just can't do this anymore. And so listen, I will find a way to balance this and I'm going to be serious about it. Like I could clearly remember I'm at meetings, I'm at political talks, I'm like, listen, time is up. And they're like, I could remember previously, I'm somewhere where I don't want to be. And then they say to you, are you in a rush to leave? And I'm in a rush to leave.
Yes.
But then I say, what do you need me for?
Yeah.
No, the deal that you'll get is, Are you in a rush to leave? Yes, the bears are getting hot and I need to go. I now give you my authentic self, and at some point we're going to make it or we're going to break it off, but it's just what it is. I no longer shelter who I am from everybody else. You always hear people say things like this, and I used to think, you're so full of it. But when you know what you bring to the table, it's easy to maneuver.
Right.
And when you learn, listen, do it without me then. And then it becomes difficult. You learn to say, I can't do this or I can't give you this. I no longer go to a specific aunt's house because I'm not going to sit there and be uncomfortable for 2 hours while you guys are singing Kumbaya and it's a lie. So I'll stay away from that because that jeopardizes my personality, that puts my identity at risk, and I'm not willing to do that. So you know what? Hail Mary to you, and I'm not going.
And that's actually a beautiful way to put it. Like, you just have
Very
to
beautiful,
have boundaries, separate, who gets what.
Yeah.
And that's how you go forward.
Yeah.
But listen, make we start, because we have to go to a commercial break. Thank you for, I got you. I got you. So when we come back, we're going to continue our chat because clearly we have a lot to say.
Warning: the following contains content intended for older audiences and may contain strong language. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome back to Taboo Talks. I'm your host, Drea, and tonight we're locked in on the topic of self-identity. We just came back from the commercial break, and I know a lot of us had a lot to say in between breaks, but I have a question. Do you think that there is such a thing as being too locked in, or is there such a thing as being so absorbed within this identity that, you actually become something that you're not? AKA, the type of people that say, oh, I'm going to be a lawyer at 26. So, because their parents are lawyers, we're talking about family. Their parents are lawyers, everybody's a lawyer. I'm going to be a lawyer at 26. So, the PSC, then they cry. Pencil broke, then they cry. Is there such a thing? What do you guys think?
100%.
Overachievers.
Yeah. Yeah. Which,
Hey, some people, I love type A personalities though. I love overachievers. But
which is fine if they're an overachiever,
Yeah.
you do you, friend. But I feel like, I don't know, I feel like we've all had that little moment, no? Like when we were all like very into like the entire thing of education. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I did my SATs. For what? I went to Canada. I never applied to the US, but
we all did the CXCs and
facts, right? But the only reason I did that is because the entire council did it. So I was like, okay, well, hey, I'm gonna do it. Trick myself because
Peer pressure.
Exactly. And I feel like we've all get to that point and we get so consumed by it. Even by the people you have in your own circles, if they're the ones that know what they want, then you have the people who really confused. Like, I had no idea what I wanted to do. Vianney, like, I feel like we all, at some point,
But who shows it?
who shows
Who
what?
steps out of it? Who really
calls it out?
Yeah, who steps out and says, okay, I'll
This
figure
is
it
not
out,
it.
or I'm forced to do this. I'll stick it out.
I just,
Are you happy? Like,
I personally think that comes back to just being your authentic self.
Yeah.
Because, for example, I have friends. My best friend is in England doing her master's degree, and I'm her biggest cheerleader. And I'm like, go girl, this is what you want. I read her dissertation if she wants me to. It's not my favorite thing. But I'm her cheerleader because that is what she wants to do. But I will not be there filling out applications to go and do that because that's not what I want to do. And so that's fine if they're overachievers, that's good, you do you. but that's not me. So just realize that and chill me, ease off me. And again, I personally think that's cool, but for me, life is such a beautiful thing. There's so much to experience. There's so much to do. And I mean, life is hard at times. And so, I don't know, I probably just want to balance, and I want to be great, but I want to have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I
want
just
to
don't want to
enjoy
die
your
a boring soul. Like, I don't want to die and they say, oh, she is this and she has a degree in that. And oh no, I want my funeral to be so fun. A lot of people, everybody's just happy for me, even though I'm dying. Yeah, everybody's just happy, you know.
No,
I want to
you
be
lived
one
your
of those
life, yeah.
persons who you just say, you know what, she was a fun, bubbly girl and she did all that she wanted. And that's what I want.
You want, instead of mourning the life of, you want celebrating the
Correct.
life. Okay,
Yeah.
I get you. So now we find ourselves maybe in a really good position because, like you said, it's about generations.
Right.
Our parents had to, and our parents' maybe had to follow or walk along the line a little tighter
Definitely.
than we have, right?
100%.
So now that we're much different than a decade ago, I'd say, and we're more accepting, we're more progressive, do you think that our society today allows us to be more confident in who we are, or does it, in a way, mess up the confused a little bit more, since now they don't have anything to hold on to? In a way, tradition is there to guide us, right? So if we throw the tradition out the door and we just do what we want to do and be who we want to be without any social responsibility, then what
Chaos.
happens?
I think we're confusing some of the topics. Like, confidence is one thing, disrespect is another. I think, like, I'm seeing the younger generation, I don't see values. I'm sad. I'm worried. You know, what is it? How far is it going to go?
Right.
You know, we keep saying self-love, but what do they call self-love? I call self-love that I could walk in here without makeup and I'm fine with that.
Right.
My hair could be undone and I'm fine with that. Self-love to them might be dancing on a tabletop, pull off their blouse, and they're fine with that. And it goes back to what, you know, to the question, we're straying away from values, from morals. You know, kids are rebelling.
Yeah.
My parents.
Yeah.
And it's like, I could speak for myself, I don't know about you guys, but at least for me, I heard my parents and I acknowledged and I listened, because my parents are always on what's best for me.
Right.
But I feel like the generation that's coming, they want be independent. I want do me. I want
But
be
they want
me.
to do that at a very young age.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like,
It's premature.
yes,
Yes.
yes. And I think we're losing it. And some parents allow it. Some don't know. And
Yeah.
it goes back to the same thing, you know, building that relationship with your mom, with your dad, you know, if not with both, with at least one, or a cousin or someone that could provide that guidance. And I think it's also on us to stop. You did go down the wrong. And at least we could say, I tried.
Right.
I saw it happening, I saw it coming, I stepped in, I spoke to him or her, but I see it losing. It's losing value, and it worries me, because none of we have kids here. And if we decide to have kids between now and the next 5 years, we the top one, another 10, 15 years, what's
Shitty
happening?
kids.
First of all, don't do that to me. Scary. But what I hear you're saying is that we are disguising self-interest for self-love. So yes, knowing who you are, then accepting who you are goes to loving who you are, and then you protect who you are and defend who you are, which is what you mentioned, you said, right? But I think that this rebellion,
We want to call it confidence.
we want to call it confidence, but really and truly
Yeah.
it's insecurity.
It is very
Yeah.
much, and they deflect that energy. I don't know if you guys see it. I mean, these are some shitty kids. These are some shitty kids. I mean, I don't mean to say it like that, but
But it is what it is.
these are some shitty kids.
I don't want to say it, but I'll say it again.
I have a lot of people, my friend, that have picked this. I can't.
You need to raise your kids to understand that they're confident little girls and boys who need to treat people right, who need to then realize that they're speaking and they're communicating and they're engaging with other confident boys and girls. And so you have to carry yourself a certain way. I mean, I danced on tables before,
Same.
but
Same.
Did you not? But
She's
did you
like,
not?
same.
But did you
But then I pull off my blouse. Same.
But you get on the table.
I've danced on a table before.
She's like,
But on my way to get to that table, I'll say, "Excuse me, can you help me up there, please,
Right.
please?" You know, and there's just a thing with stop making your confidence to the point where you become shitty kids. Like, learn to be confident and secure. If you're confident, you don't have to put it in everybody's face. Don't try to validate yourself with other people.
Yeah.
Just be your confident self. I mean, that's fine. That's okay. And if you understand that, then you should be able to maneuver. But parents do really need to do a better job with these kids. And listen, good morning, good afternoon are fundamentals. We don't need to take away all traditions.
Yeah.
We need
Right.
to just learn how to maneuver and be ourselves throughout both. Don't lose yourself for anything.
Right.
Tradition is essential, especially when we live in such a small place.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
And it could really affect a person down the road in the sense that jobs,
yeah.
you don't know who's watching.
Yeah.
Well, that was the last episode, girl.
It's like,
Yeah, the whole.
it's a conflict between I want to be myself, but I also need to respect myself.
Right.
And you know, and all brands are different. Some brands want you to stay brand aligned, stay within the lines. That's fine if that's who you want to be for that brand.
Right.
But it's a balance between respecting yourself, but also being yourself.
That's so hard.
It's a funny,
That's
you know, it's,
so hard. That's
yeah,
a
that's-
thin line. I mean, like, people probably listening to us and they're like, what? Because, girl, you're 16 and it's still fun. But when you get older and life gets real, because trust me, life gets real.
and everybody know everybody.
And you question yourself and you question, what have I been doing and how has this been working out? So when life gets real quick. You're
Real quick.
16, you're 18, it's still cute, but it
When
gets
you-
real quick. And then you just sit and say, you know, imagine I've just been doing this all wrong. So just be very careful to walk that line. And we're not trying to put you in a box. I'm not telling anybody to not be their authentic self.
Right.
But know that you're going to change, you're
Yeah.
going
Right.
to evolve.
So
And
all of those bad things that you do are also part of how you get to
Right.
You're going to
realize
evolve.
what your boundaries are, who you are, etc.
Yeah.
Right?
You're going to evolve. You're 16 and it's cute. So girl, live your life.
And
But
trust me, that table
it's so
top will
hard
teach
for
you
me
a
to say
lesson.
that table, especially if you fall.
That table top will teach you a lesson.
Yeah, bust your head.
No, that
But
table
you
top
need
that
to
bust
bust
your
your
head.
head.
Literally.
So can we maybe close that part of the discussion with basically saying that the freedom to be your authentic self comes with the responsibility and the payment of your dues. Like you have to, if you're a kid and you're a student, you have to go to school. Before you have to go to school and do well, or decide, say, I don't want to do this before you tell the parents, I don't want to go to school.
Correct.
If you want to go out and party, you have to be responsible for something else before
Correct.
you go out and party. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Correct.
So there is a space for rules, for
Yeah.
for the things that I naturally want to rebel against because I am an Aquarian. And I have always been a rebel and I will always be a rebel. But there are things that we need to consider before saying, this is my flag and I'm going to wave it.
Yeah.
You know? And that being said, a big part of our identity is actually our sexuality or our sensuality. You know, do you think that right now, since, you know, social media is a thing, since, you know, everything is a mile a minute, do you think that our sexual identities are freer? Are we freer to be who we are, or or are we so caught up in the progressiveness of it all, if that's a word, that we, you know, don't really know what we want in a partner or in a sexual partner or, you know, within ourselves? And I have a lot of, you know, gay and LGBT friends, and I find that in comparison to where we were when I was in high school, you know, it was like, oh, then gal from so high school. I don't want to say the high school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The one that I went to.
We went to a school.
The girl, you know, when I said palo.
They're talking shit.
You know? Like we grew up where it was where your sexuality was a big deal and something to be ridiculed if it wasn't like everyone else. But now you are ridiculed if you
Don't speak up.
speak up.
Yeah.
You know? So how do you guys feel about sex, basically?
Honey Sango. Sex, baby.
Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that make me.
Well, I guess we're gonna do exactly that. We're going to do exactly that. We're gonna talk about the good things. We're gonna talk about the bad things.
Everything that.
The good things. It feels good.
It's satisfying.
Are you comfortable talking about sex? Because I feel like I am. Like,
Very much.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean,
Very much.
yeah, it definitely, like I said, growing up, it's like you, obviously when you're growing up, oh, you can't, back in our generation,
Right.
oh no, you,
Yeah,
that's, no, hush, hush.
yeah, even
but
though
now,
they sneak out their house.
yeah,
You gotta jump through the window, girl. Not me.
My parents are watching this.
Oh, damn. Okay.
I never did it either, girl.
Not me.
Me neither.
I was out there.
but yeah, like it definitely, I mean, no, it's more free. I believe it's a more freeing topic to talk about.
Right.
There's still obviously still some reservations and boundaries that
Right.
some people, but I believe it's much freer than it was before.
I mean, how I identify is my business.
Fuck.
How you identify is your business. If you want to be a butterfly and flap your wings, I'm there for that too.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I personally feel like we are in a time where I think my generation, because I don't want to speak in general, because I'm positively sure of older people that still find it so weird and
So
even
taboo.
correct,
Yep.
even though they know that it's happening right in front of them, they're in such denial or they just don't want to speak on it.
Right.
But personally, I haven't met a person my age that still acts weird, like, oh, you
Yeah.
gay, or oh, he not sure what he want, or she not butterfly. I haven't met.
that term butterfly.
That's
Yeah.
my favorite.
Yeah, I know. Like, if you want to be a butterfly,
I'm not a
be
butterfly, but I think I would like to be
Oh, yeah.
a butterfly.
And it's okay. Like I could
Can I
remember.
never be a butterfly?
I could remember going
Might as
home.
well.
What do butterflies do?
They
They
flap their
evolve.
wings.
They
And they were once in a cocoon, and then they opened up, and then they flap
I'm a
from one
butterfly.
flower to the next, and figure themselves out.
Yeah, that's not what I thought. I thought a butterfly takes pics.
Oh no!
I think that's what she's saying too.
But it's a good way. It's a good thing. But I mean, I could remember having the conversation, like we were just hanging out and I said to my mom, I said, you know, I kissed a girl. And my mom is like, what? I said, yes, I kissed a girl. And she said, how do you just kiss a girl? Like, are you gay? And I said, I don't think so. But how do you kiss a girl and you're not gay?
Yeah.
I said, Ma, because you can. Like, because you can. Because
I'm
I'm
sex
so,
with her mom.
I'm so comfortable that I just can do what makes me comfortable.
Right.
And I'm not gay.
Disclaimer.
I don't think so. But I'm free to do what
As
I
you
feel to do.
So, how about the topic of peer pressure? So, it is natural that birds of a feather fly together. You know what I mean? So, do you think that you can maintain your identity if you find yourself around people that are maybe the opposite of you?
I feel like sometimes a bird or two have a drop. Like, no tea, no shade, just straight to the facts. A bird or two has to fall.
Right.
Fly away, birdie.
Remember, we're flying in a triangle. We do a square now. Somebody have a date. And it's not because, listen, you outgrow people.
Yep.
That's fine.
And it's not anything negative against them. You don't hate them. We never had drama, but we're not
We're
on the
different.
same. We're not on the same wavelength
Right.
anymore. Yes, you might want something different, and that's great for you. But I want something else. Okay,
I respect
we might
that.
not see eye to eye, but I respect that. You know, we respect each other, whatever. But we're flying in a circle now.
So what about social identifiers? Because, like I said, I have a lot of gay friends, and people just automatically assume that I'm also
Yeah.
gay
Oh, yeah.
or bisexual.
People do that,
That
all
is-
the
And it's like-
time.
Yep.
No, I can have friends of various
Whatever it is.
facets, and I can still be me.
Right, definitely.
Like, you know, like if now there's a problem with who I am, then like you said, the bird have to drop.
Yeah.
But my birds are my birds, and my feathers are golden and very unique. Nobody don't look like me, so, and you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
like. Do you feel like, especially with adolescents, you know, your mom or your dad's like, I don't want you to hang out with he or she. Like, that's a
Because I
bad
don't want bad
influence.
influence. Aha.
A bad influence.
You want turn.
And most often than not, sometimes it is a bad influence.
How about the times when the parents said this, and all the while that your child that influencer,
Yep.
Thank you.
your child that the one where they lead this whole
Yeah.
pack into the wilderness. And
But it goes back to the same thing that parents aren't keeping up. They're not making that relationship. You don't know. You don't
but
know.
But I don't think it's that. I feel like parents choose to see what they want to
To
see
see,
when it comes
right.
to their children.
Right.
I
Right.
like how we went from identity and all we're talking about is our parents. It's our parents' fault. Definite fault.
that's what we're-
Well,
Allah,
wait.
I feel no, Allah, we got trauma now.
Allah, we got trauma. Well, let's
Yeah.
hold on to our trauma for the rest of our lives. We'll swallow it like I've been swallowing it for the 30 odd years of my life. We'll hold on to our thoughts, and we'll return with a virtual call from special guest Miss Adele Katzim. And we're gonna go a little bit deeper into our traumas. Are you ready?
Warning: the following contains content intended for older audiences and may contain strong language. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome back to Taboo Talks. I'm Drea. In this segment, we have with us an expert joining us virtually to add to the conversation. Hi, Miss Adele. How are you today?
Hello, I'm good. Having a wonderful time here listening to the conversation.
I know we're a little entertaining, aren't we?
But very enlightening.
My first question is actually going to be to introduce yourself to us. Who do you identify as? Who are you, Miss Adele?
I'm Adele Katzim. I'm married, so I'm Adele Katzim Sanchez. But I studied psychology, and actually, you know, I kind of identify with one of the young ladies in the group who said, you know, she studied and then she wanted to do something different, and you know, eventually you find your way back to
Right.
what you originally thought you wanted to do. And so I kind of went around getting a master's degree in counseling psychology, but I didn't do it by going through a straight line. I kind of went and meandered all over the place before deciding on continuing in the field of psychology. So I relate a lot to what some of the panelists have been saying about,
Right.
finding out eventually what it is that you really want to do with your life. I've worked in the field in government, in the NGO sector. I'm currently in the NGO sector as well, at the present time. But one of the things that I enjoy doing the most is listening to young people talk.
Welcome.
Yes. And
We talk a lot.
has been hot, exciting. I'm really honored to be listening in. I'm just, you know, I wish I could actually be there in the group and feel the energy that is in the group, because, I can see with some of those questions, the
Yeah.
panelists are just kind of taking off and just really, as one of you keep mentioning, being authentic. Right? So I've been listening and completely having fun.
Well, that's a good thing. Like if she were like a study group, the show is a success.
Very much so. Very much so.
Miss Adele, so we identified a big source of, I guess I'd say, a big source of stress when it comes to one developing their self-identity is pressure, peer pressure, family pressure, internal pressure to succeed and make or be something. How can young people be expected to survive so much pressure from so many different angles, yet be successful and be balanced young people? Like, how do we bombard them with CXC, school, making social life, making good choices? Like, how do we expect young people to not freak out? Is not the psychological term, but to not lose their minds. Like, how can we really expect this from them? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It's a big challenge, especially with social media, and especially with the pace at which we're expected to develop, not just individually, but as countries, as
Right.
people. Like force-riping
Force-ripe.
ourselves.
That's
Yes,
a word,
and,
yeah.
and it is a big challenge. It does apply. There's a lot of pressure, even in the education system. And we can say, well, it's up to the young person to set the boundaries, and it's up to the young person to do a lot of things. But when it comes to the pressures that come, a lot of them are institutional,
Right.
and them come from parents. And there are some things that, as a child, you don't really have control over. And so there's some responsibility that has to be put on our institutions, on us as parents, us as the older generation, to make sure that we, more than anything else, are open to listening to what our children and what young people have to say. Because I'm listening to all of you, and I realize, there's just, each of you has taken your own path.
Right.
But each of you now are in a place at which you feel a lot more confident about who you are. But that came with the fact that you weren't afraid to take risks. You weren't afraid to learn. So being open-minded, being willing to learn is helpful, but also putting those boundaries is helpful. The thing is that as a child, it's hard to put boundaries. But as you grow older, it becomes important to do so, and to be able to say to parents, to teachers, to institutions that there is something different that you want, and that is okay.
Yeah.
I heard one of you mention at one point in time, you decided that you didn't really want to continue with formal education at that point. It was more important to go out into the world of work. And that is incredible, because it shows that you're not afraid to take a risk. You gave yourself the opportunity to take a risk of learning outside of the school environment. You gave yourself the opportunity to embrace challenges and to be resilient. and to learn some key life lessons. Like someone said in the group, life becomes real, right? If you don't give yourself a chance, then you'll never know that life becomes real, right? So, I mean, I know I'm going around a little bit in circles here.
Not at
right?
all.
But basically, there are different levels that need to be considered when we are talking about the pressures. For pressures that come from peer groups, that's easier to deal with, right? Because then we could talk about, building self-confidence and some other things that could be done. Building self-confidence, making sure that you choose friends that share your same value system, or whom will accept you the way you are. And in that case, the rule is usually look for quality over quantity. So don't look for 1,000 friends on Facebook or whatever. That might not help in terms of reducing peer pressure or addressing peer pressure. Look for the friends who will stick by your side, who are going to be your protectors, friends that create a safe space for you. If there's big issues, you could always look to an adult. For some of you, your safe space is your mom, is within your home. Some people don't have that, but they can look for someone else that can become that safe space for them.
Yeah.
So when it comes to peer pressure, as a young person, it's more manageable, it's easier to deal with. But for pressure that comes from institutional issues, what it would require is advocacy. Young people like you advocating for changes in the education system, changes in the health system, changes in the governance, to make sure that we don't lock ourselves in, to make sure that we don't remain rigid as a people, to make sure that we understand that going through life, as one of you said, or a couple of you said, is more of a journey. And that we don't have to know everything, by the time you're 18. When you turn 18, it's not like you jump from being 17 to 18 and all of a sudden you know everything in life, and you need to, go in a straight line. It's not like that. We need young people like you to engage in advocacy, to change the structures and the institutions that are not helping us at all. I don't know how some of you feel about that, but it's through collective action that we can create change in our society. Right? So there are different levels of things that need to be done when it comes to pressure, depending on the type of pressure that we have to deal with.
What do you say to the people that, we're talking about pressure, so there are certain people that feel so sure that this is something that they want because of external factors, right? So by 25, we mentioned by 25, I will be married with kids. By 25, I will have a house. We laugh at that because 25 past long time, I don't have that. But actually, no, I have a house. But anyway, what do you say to these people that are maybe so synced into a version of themselves that they haven't given themselves the opportunity to explore outside of? There are those people that really and truly put the pressure on themselves, so to speak. What do you say to them?
Yeah, I would tell them to meet one of the panelists that you have there, the young lady in blue.
Jay.
Go meet her. She's gonna show you how not to be so rigid, right?
I'll take them on a trip in a rocket ship.
Yeah. I like that analogy. You know that and I have a background in psychology and yoga too, so thank you. So obviously, like physiologically, when you are more flexible, you're less likely to get hurt when you fall, right? When you're rigid and your plans and dreams and everything drop on the ground, you're dead. Se terminó. Shattered.
Broken.
Right?
You know
So,
what? Yes, exactly, exactly. That's the thing. And some people are so afraid to fall that they never learn any serious life lessons.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not about falling
Yep.
down. It's not about, it's not about not being able to fall down. It's about picking yourself up and moving forward. And the people who are most rigid, the ones who have their lives planned out to the details, are the ones who are afraid to fail. They're afraid to fall. And it's a disservice that they give to themselves. So I would say, like, build in flexibility. Build in flexibility because life is not like a journey that is like a train track. It's not like you're on this track and that's the only way you need to go. It's more like a road that meanders here and there. And going with the flow is critical to learning the lessons that we need to learn. And for those type of people, they're the ones who have the most physical illnesses, right?
always sick.
Yes, the high blood pressure, the things like that, because our mental and emotional state is very much linked with our physical body. We cannot divorce the two things. And so for those people, sometimes the universe, using the word of Mr. Spat, right? Yeah, the universe speaks to us. And the universe speaks to those people sometimes in the physical body. So
Right.
even when they're not able to, when they're rigid, the physical body will stop them.
Yeah,
Will
manifest
help
itself
them to
somehow.
train. Yes, somehow it will happen, because it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable to just plan your life out, in that straight line and have all these goals to achieve. Those are the kinds of people that sometimes become vulnerable to suicide, One B in a class and they're suicidal, right? And we have to have compassion for those kinds of people as well, because we don't know what happened in their lives to make them that way, right? But I would say that, I mean, if people had a choice, it would be good to just be more flexible in growing up and have fun.
Yes.
Yes.
Have fun living your life. I appreciate that message. Thank you so much, Miss Adele, for your words. I know that we're not just talking craziness here. Now you have validated us.
Thank you.
By a professional. There we go.
Incredible group of young people.
Well, thank you so much again. And we are very appreciative of not only you, but ourselves. And that's something that I feel that we need to end this show off with.
100%.
This self-appreciation.
A validation.
Yes,
you
and
know.
validation.
Butterflies.
All right, we're all butterflies. Thank you so much, Angel, Jessica, Danelle, Vianney. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for stopping by. Viewers, thank you for listening to us. I know we're entertaining. And we would love to see you next week. That was Taboo Talks. Bye.